A new oil and gas program offered through distance learning turned heads. How often does private business form a partnership with schools for educational reasons? Well, more than you might think. So today on Blue Sky, we'll learn about the number of courses offered to high school students, everything from early childhood education that gets you into daycares and offers you a post-secondary credit, to construction, policing, automotives, and more. We'll be hearing from teachers and students, but we also want to hear from you on this. Give us a call today, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. You can learn a lot of things in school: math, science, social studies, and history. And pretty soon here in Saskatchewan, students will also be learning about oil and gas. The provincial government just recently announced more opportunities for high school students to learn about and work in the energy industry. The province is also partnering with $4 billion energy companies to do this. Everett Hindley is Saskatchewan's Minister of Education. He spoke to the 306 host, Peter Mills, about this new distance learning center course.
It's really a really good example of where, the mandate of the SAS DLC is to support kindergarten to career. And, and this isn't the first area, by the way. We've had other industry partners come forward, perhaps in the agriculture industry or construction, electrical, tourism, for example, welding, power engineering, where we've had industry come to government and say, look, how can we help you? We need employees in our industry. And we know that there might be students that are interested in a line of work perhaps in one of these trades, such as oil and gas. And you think of particularly, and not just limited to, but particularly to areas where there is, a vibrant oil and gas sector. So in Southeast Saskatchewan and Weyburn and Estevan, here in Swift Current, where I'm at today, in Swift Current and Shaunavon, in that area, perhaps up in the Lloydminster area. But how do you, as a young person, how do you get involved? So I think this is one of those bridges where if we can provide this course and have it available, as I said earlier, online, but also as a work placement, and there will be a coordinator there to work with the students, the DLC, and the energy companies. How can we partner that all together and then provide these opportunities? So it would be available to students in high school to be able to apply and register for these oil and gas 20 and 30 courses.
Why do you think students need to be learning this?
Well, I think it is an important part of our economy here in Saskatchewan. The oil and gas sector creates thousands of jobs, has a significant component to the province's GDP, and it's important to so much of our province. And I think it's part of the things that we are hearing as a government from industry, and not just the oil and gas or the energy sector, but from other sectors as well. There's a need for skilled labor, and how do you get that? So, and it's not just, and we have great partners at the University of Saskatchewan, at Sask Poly, at our regional colleges. But in addition to that, we want to be able to create some of these opportunities and present some of these opportunities to students at a much younger age, so that they're thinking about it in high school and perhaps even sooner, to make sure that they know what employment opportunities are available down the road, and then how they get there, how they get from point A, from just an interest down the line to actually securing a job in the workforce for one of these energy companies. So that's why we think it's important that we're helping to support this and work closely with industry partners to develop this new course.
Well, speaking of working with those industry partners, Minister, our province currently does not allow third-party educators to teach things like consent. Do you have any concerns with multi-billion-dollar private industries dictating education?
Well, no, I don't. And again, I would say that, this is an example of where industry has come to us in a number of different sectors to want to be involved with the development and expansion of the curriculum, to provide more learning opportunities for students right across this province, whether it's in their school, in their community, or in their city, or through, in this example, through the Distance Learning Corporation, through the SAS DLC. And we've seen it be developed successfully in other areas, as I said earlier, construction, automotive, auto body, welding, tourism, for example. And this is another example of that. So we really want to be able to give students that opportunity because ideally we'd like to have those students become trained and working right here in Saskatchewan. We don't want to lose them to other provinces. We have plenty of job opportunities right across this province in a variety of sectors. And I think by partnering with industry, we can make sure that we develop the best possible course and the best possible curriculum for students right across Saskatchewan.
That's Education Minister Everett Hindley speaking with the 306 host Peter Mills. The Saskatchewan Distance Learning Centre also offers students courses in agriculture, electrical construction, power engineering, tourism, and welding. Now, if you're wondering about what kind of climate change education students get in schools, you're not alone. Nicola Chopin is with the Sustainability Education Research Institute, SERI, at the University of Saskatchewan. She's been doing research about climate change education in Canada and internationally, and she's on the line right now. Nicola, hello.
Hello.
You were listening to that. Do you have thoughts after hearing that interview with the education minister about this new course on oil and gas? It was just a portion of the interview. It wasn't the entire interview, but what are your thoughts?
My first thought is that this is not the way to prepare our young people for the future. We often do see that the climate conversation comes down to livelihoods and economies, and I think that this is a really reasonable concern, but one of the good things about the climate crisis, if you can say that, is that there are so many opportunities for a forward-thinking government to become a leader in new and emerging industries. There is going to come a time where oil and gas is phased out, and we need to start planning for that transition now so that the people of Saskatchewan aren't left behind.
Do you worry that this gives students false hope, that there could be a long career in oil and gas and they get out of school and that may not be the case?
I do, and I think that it's much better to be preparing our kids for a future where they might actually have proper livelihood. One of your letters that you read was talking about the potential in solar and wind here. It's one of the sunniest places in Canada. It's one of the windiest places in Canada, and we should be developing that potential.
So what are students learning if they are interested in learning more about climate change? I want to ask you what kind of options they have, because once you get to high school, you have choices, right? Like, you don't have to take the oil and gas course, and that's only for students doing the distance learning, but you have options. You can do construction. There's lots of things you can do. So when it comes to climate change, what options do students have?
Yeah, so the programming here in the province does tend to be pretty patchy. There are a lot of great programs that do teach young people about climate change, but they tend to be a bit smaller scale and they're only available to small numbers of students. So one of the things that we like to recommend in our research is that every student should be exposed to climate change education across all areas of their schooling. So one of the things that we tend to think about when we think about climate change education is getting taught the science of climate change in the classroom. And that is a start, but we've seen decades of that approach worldwide, and it's not spurring the level of climate action that we need. Our research shows that students need to also be taught how to take climate action. And learners also need to be able to deal with emotions from climate change. So climate change is incredibly scary, and it can be very paralyzing. So teaching broader systemic climate solutions, like engaging with elected officials, can be more empowering and provide a bit more sense of control.
You know that there are likely people listening who would disagree that this has a place in the classroom. I think we both know that sentiment exists. So how would you engage with someone who feels like we shouldn't be teaching kids to be activists, like that this doesn't belong in the classroom? How would you engage with that person?
There are other ways to take systemic climate action that don't involve engaging with elected officials, for example. So I suppose I picked the most political possible example, but there are all sorts of ways. Climate change is a broad scale systemic solution. So kids could be learning about it in industrial arts. There's there's some really cool programs where people learn about doing climate action through art, for example. One of the programs that we partner with at the Sustainability Education Research Institute is called Student Action for a Sustainable Future. And it's an action-focused program that's offered to 12 public and Catholic schools in Saskatoon. Students in grades 5 to 8 develop projects on different topics like food, biodiversity, and transportation. And it's focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The program is coordinated by the City of Saskatoon, and it has a number of partners. So there are so many different entry points for climate action.
And why is that important to you?
We need a broad scale, all levels of society solution to climate change. So we can't just be offloading responsibility onto kids. I think one of the really important things about teaching kids about climate change is they might go back to their parents and help them kind of learn about climate action as well. So the more programming that we have, the more effective solutions that we have, the better, because we need everyone on board so that we can get on top of this catastrophe.
Just to circle back to, I think the intent of the oil and gas class is to lead students into some kind of employment, an employment opportunity. And you kind of alluded to the fact that there are employment opportunities in clean energy sources, that sort of thing. But do you want to just touch on that again? If students at the high school level are looking for practical hands-on experience, do you have any examples of a link there between climate change, the energy transition, and students getting that practical work experience?
I do not, actually.
And is that a concern? Is that a concern for you?
Yes, I think, when we've been, engaging with education programs here in the province, it's very much focused on kind of ecology and science and that sort of approach. But I think that one of the things that modern education systems are doing, or perhaps should be doing, is preparing kids for jobs and what they're going to be doing in the future. So the fact that there may not be all that many jobs or student opportunities to take part in that kind of learning is a bit of a problem.
So yeah, how important is it to have those kinds of opportunities for students? If that is a gap right now, do you want that gap filled?
I think so. I think that it's not necessary. I don't see why you wouldn't want our young people to be learning about things that are going to help them be more successful in the future. I think we don't necessarily know what the future holds. And one of the things that we should be doing with climate education is teaching kids how to deal with systems approaches, thinking about how to deal with change, and thinking about different ways to kind of be in the world. And that is really important for preparing our youth for the future.
Yeah, and I think part of what you're saying is that it likely will impact so many different aspects of our lives. If you're going to go work for an insurance company, you have to be somewhat familiar with what's going on when it comes to climate change, because it's disrupting so many industries and the way we've done things. So that is kind of what you're getting at, right?
Yes, that is. Yeah, it crosses all industries and all economies. The insurance thing is really interesting because we are seeing increasing numbers of homes in the US becoming uninsurable because of climate change. That Pacific Palisades fire, a lot of the homes were not insured. So there's it crosses all industries: fashion, hairdressing, areas where you would never think could be climate friendly or climate responsible. It's all related.
Nicola, it was really good to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was nice to talk with you as well.
That's Nicola Chopin with the Sustainability Education Research Institute at the University of Saskatchewan. What are your thoughts on what you just heard there? You can give us a call today, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. I'm Leisha Grabinski. You're listening to Blue Sky today on CBC Radio 1. Well, the new oil and gas course did get us thinking about all the other courses students in this province have access to and the value of programs that do provide a direct path to a specific career. Kendra Beliveau knows a lot about this. She's the vice principal of Campus Regina Public and Victoria Campus, and she's in our Regina studio to help us learn a bit more. Kendra, welcome to Blue Sky.
Thank you for having me.
Before we go too far, there are likely listeners, myself included, really, that don't know a lot about what Campus Regina Public is. So how would you describe what goes on at your school?
Yeah, so Campus Regina Public is not your typical high school in Saskatchewan. It was created with the purpose of sort of like reimagining and redefining what school could look like and feel like. When the program first was created in 2015, they put together a working group of both the educators and students, and they asked them, what is it that you want from education? What's missing? What do you want to see from your schooling experience? And overwhelmingly, students responded that, they wanted to learn through hands-on experiences, and they wanted to connect what they were learning in school to the real world. And so that's sort of how Campus Regina Public came to be, was sort of taking that career pathways model and providing engaging and hands-on learning opportunities for students. So taking those core curriculums, math, science, and English, and pairing them with a hands-on elective such as welding or electrical, hairstyling and aesthetics, and career and work experience. And so giving those 2-hour a chunk of class time for students to reimagine and redefine what education looks like to them.
Okay, so if they pick a path that they want to go down, say it's construction, they would be then enrolled in Campus Regina. They wouldn't be taking those core classes at a different high school. Like they then become a student of Campus Regina.
Yeah, that's right. So we are open for all grade 11 and 12 students in Regina Public. And so we are a school for all students, which provides a lot of equity. Not all schools would have a state-of-the-art automotive program like we do, or a state-of-the-art construction lab like we have. And so it provides an opportunity for all students to come over to our building and participate in these programs. So they run in the morning and the afternoon for 2 hours, and our students are bused from all the different high schools in Regina. And so they get to spend 2 hours in our building, and they get to work on different passion areas and, find a career path that they're interested in pursuing.
How do you develop the curriculum for those classes? And I just want to point out that one of the questions, or some of the questions that people had related to the oil and gas course was who's controlling the curriculum, and there's money attached from big corporations. And so those were questions that people were posing about that program. When it comes to Campus Regina Public, how does it work?
Yeah, so we follow a traditional curriculum, right? So your English outcomes, your writing, your reflecting, your reading, those outcomes are still met, but they're reinterpreted and they're reimagined in different ways. For example, in our automotive program, we have a community partnership that's strong with Capital Auto Mall and Cal Tire, and both communities and both businesses will provide work experience opportunities for our students where they'll get to go and spend 2 weeks learning how to do quick lane, to be quick lane ready and to do oil changes and tire rotations. And so we're still following the English curriculum in terms of being able to read and write and respond and do a comparative essay. Perhaps, instead of looking at, Shakespeare as a traditional literature piece, for example, in English, we might look at, comparative essay between, an electric car versus a gas car, or reading different industry standard manuals. And so you're using the curriculum and you are aligning it with your automotive program. And so students are able to buy in, to English if that had been a class that they had struggled with before. So we still teach the curriculum. We're just reimagining it in different ways.
How important is it to have that partnership with business? Cal Tire. Hadn't really thought about Cal Tire having a connection with our school system.
Yeah.
How important is that?
We like to think of it as reciprocal. They will, come in and they, for example, when, we first were designing this program, they came in and looked at our space and were, provided some feedback to the school division. And the school division did put in, a big investment in both facility and technology into the school when it first opened. And so having input from, some industry standard professionals, this is what we're expecting, or this is what we want to have when we're hiring young workers. And so students being able to train on the technology and the machines that they're going to be using in the real world. And then in turn, students will get hired on and they'll have jobs and they'll find different areas of passion that they, want to pursue as careers. So we think of it as reciprocal at CRP.
There's someone on the line who wants to join the conversation. So Nathan is in Regina. Hello there, Nathan.
Hello.
You bring some knowledge to this topic, right?
I do, yes. I'm one of the teachers here at Campus Regina Public, and just wanted to kind of signal boost a lot of what Kendra was saying.
So what do you teach at Campus Regina Public?
Yeah, I teach video game design and development. So my students won't get credit in video game design per se. They would get credit in computer science and communication media. Funny word to trip up on.
So they get credits for this. I was going to ask Kendra about this, but Nathan, why don't you explain how that works?
So my job, just like any other teacher, would be to examine the curriculum for those 2 credits, kind of develop lesson plans and assignments and projects that would kind of fit into that, just with the theme of working towards building video games. So in computer science, where we might be looking at specific methods and specific lessons within what a grade 11 student is expected to learn in computer science, we would take that and just say, how can we make a video game using that component?
So do you have partnerships? Tell me more about that part of it.
So the thing I was going to just kind of add to the conversation is whereas my program doesn't have necessarily any of those formal partnerships, which I think is the bigger topic of discussion here, I also wanted to add, we have these informal partnerships with industries and businesses kind of all the time, and that's all the way down to kindergarten, whether that's like a field trip or in some cases, I know there's some industries that will have almost like a unit plan of different lessons just to help kind of expose some students to this world and kind of what goes on in this world. Whereas once you get to our level at the high school level, it's a little more work focused and career oriented, and saying like here's some of the skills that it would take to get you ready for a career in this field.
What have your students been able to accomplish? Is there an anecdote or a story that stands out from over the years? Just what have you seen your students go on to do?
I've worked very closely with my predecessor, who I took this course over from, and we have just a number of students who have gone on to make a really decent living selling their games, and usually not the ones they make in our course or our class, because they're still kind of learning the skills. But every new game is kind of a new journey, is what we tell them. And by the time they're ready to leave high school, they've got a strong enough skill set to be marketable.
Well, I'm glad you called, Nathan. It was good to hear from you, and nice to hear specifically about the video game design. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
That's Nathan in Regina. You can call us too, 1-800-716-2221. You can also email bluesky@cbc.ca. I'd love to hear from some graduates of these programs, why you chose to do it, and what you got out of it. We are going to hear from some students right away. In our Regina studio, though, is Kendra Beliveau. She is vice principal at Campus Regina Public and Victoria Campus. So, Kendra, before I ask you more questions, I do want to share with people some tape from one of your former students. Our Our producer, Nicole, spoke with Araya Reese, a first-year education student now at the University of Regina, and she took early childhood education through Campus Regina Public in grades 11 and 12.
I love the experience. I first took the class in my grade 11 year, and I had the opportunity to work with pre-K students in the pre-K building right next to the classroom. And then I also had the opportunity to work in a kindergarten classroom for 3 weeks, which was absolutely wonderful. I learned so much about the kids there and like what I wanted to do like with my life. And then after that, I decided to take the class again, and I had the opportunity to work with children in the developmental center at Campus Regina Public and in a grade 5-6 classroom, which was great. It opened so many opportunities and doors for me, and I loved it, and that's why I'm in education now.
So I think a lot of people don't really understand how many different kinds of ways kids can learn in school. They think, oh, you take English and you take math or whatever. What do you see as the value of these kind of programs?
I was appealed to the fact that there was hands-on learning with kids in classrooms. Like my English class, like I got to like work on making lesson plans for children, which is like something I would never get to do in a regular high school class, which really benefited me, and it turned out to be something that I really enjoyed. I also got to take my psychology class, which was focused on learning about child development, which was like extremely beneficial to me and something that like my regular high school psychology class wouldn't teach, and I really benefited from that. And I don't think people realize how valuable these classes are if it's something that you're interested in or even considering. Like you learn so much more, and it is so much better for your education going forwards. And it was something that I was so grateful to have the opportunity to do. I did have the opportunity to actually take a university class through CRP, and it did show up for a university class like where I am now. That was an experience like super beneficial. Like I learned what an actual university class was like, and I got a credit for like I didn't have to pay like the usual tuition that you would have to, which really benefited me in my financial standpoint. And then
what's the dollar value of that?
So I only had to pay for registration, which was $100 to register for the U of R. I didn't have to pay any tuition, like say like $1,000 for the class like you normally would at the university. So it was basically just $100 to register to take the class, and yeah.
And what was the class?
It was ECS 102, which is a mandatory education class that you'll have to take in your first year. So I got to go ahead, and now that I'm in university now, I'm actually taking ECS 203 in my first year because I had the opportunity to take ECS 101 while I was still in high school. I was kind of on the fence if I wanted to go into education prior to taking the class, but after I took it, like I knew it was something that I was really passionate about and something that I wanted to pursue. So I did end up taking the program 2 times, which I just loved it, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who was interested in becoming a teacher or any of the programs that they offer. Like you get a feel of what being in that field is actually like, and like as a high school student, it's scary having to pick something that once you're out of high school, that's what you're doing. And it's a lot of pressure for high school students. So having the opportunity to have or to take classes that are going to basically simulate what your life could be like is super beneficial. And there's not really any repercussions if that's not the program for you. You still get the credits, and you can like use that towards something else in the future.
Was there any kids who took the class with you and were like, I do not want to be a teacher?
No, I actually had a friend who she took it because she wanted to be a pediatrician. She took the class. She loved taking the class. She didn't want to be a teacher, but like working with kids and learning to work with children with different like disabilities and different learning abilities was something that she really benefited from. And it'll transfer because she's working with kids in her future. So that's the only person that I know who wasn't going into that with intents to work in education.
Araya Reese, now in her first year of education at the University of Regina. I mean, she makes a pretty convincing case there. Saving money, that's a big thing. How important is it, Kendra, from your perspective, for students to get those credits?
Yeah, we're very lucky. We've had a partnership with the University of Regina for a few years now. And so one of the things that we talked about when bringing in these dual credit opportunities for students was that we wanted to make it equitable and accessible. And so we do not want to pass that financial burden on to students in high school. And so, our division and the university has been, works together. And again, it's that reciprocal nature of, creating opportunities for young students to see themselves as future educators and giving them experiences in the classroom and with students. And so as Araya stated, you get to find out if this is something that you want to do in grade 11 and 12. And I always say to the students, the worst thing that happens is that you decide, this isn't for me. And you walk away with 2 high school credits and you try something different. And I think, that age-old question of what are you going to do when you graduate, it paralyzes kids. And so CRP provides, so many opportunities. We have 14 programs for kids to explore. And we also have dual credits with Sask Polytechnic. So our engineering students next semester, they're fully Sask Poly students. They're taking 2 Sask Poly credits and they'll earn 2 high school credits. And so they're going to learn they're going to take a CAD class and so computer and design course. And, they've done a lot of real world projects where they've designed, for example, any of you on the Wascana trails have seen there's some bike repair stands out there. Our engineering students, they designed those and they gave it to our welding program across the hallway. And using our CNC machine, they fabricated and designed and installed those bike repair kits. So the partnerships with our post-secondary, our business, our community is invaluable to the model at CRP.
Before we hear from another student, I just want to ask you, because some people might have this question on their minds. If you're choosing one path and maybe that path is taking you towards education or maybe it's taking you towards automotives, what are you not learning as a result? If you're picking one thing but then you're missing out on the others, how would you address that kind of a question?
Yeah, I think when you look at the curriculum, there's certainly those content pieces and then there's those skill development pieces. And so our focus is on both. The content shifts a little bit in terms of the theme or the elective that you're paired with. So, for example, in our health science program, right, students are still learning about, anatomy and physiology and genetics. But then in their career and work program that's partnered with it, they are working with 4th-year nursing students who are teaching them how to do vital signs, and they're going to get first aid and CPR. And so I think the skill development is sort of where we really like to put our focus. So there could be, maybe you're not in English, maybe you're not, learning about, like we said, Macbeth, right, in a particular English class, but you're learning, a different skill or a different content that students are passionate about. And when we look at student engagement at CRP, 97% of our students earn their credits because they want to be here. They choose to get on a bus every day and they choose to come to our program. And I think that's the thing that we have to focus on the most.
Okay, let's listen to another one of your students. This is Sophia Greenlee, a grade 12 electrical student.
My reasons for taking the electrical program at CRP is the fact that I enjoy doing electrical work within my home school, but knew I could get a better understanding of the trade by taking this course. I really like the electrical course at CRP because of how diverse it is and what is available in the classroom. We're able to work at heights on ladders, work on the ground, practice pulling wire, wiring lights, switches, and outlets, as well as learn of the trade and the requirements of it in a work setting. Even outside a school setting, students are able to go for summer labor courses at SaskPower and SaskTel, working in the field among the workers and learning more in depth of what the trade is about. But even in the classroom, the skills that I've learned in this class are very helpful to the real world and the electrical trade itself. But I've also gained the knowledge as to what trades are like. By being in this class, I've learned about the electrical and do really enjoy it, and do believe that it is the best way, or one of the best ways, to get into the trades and gain the knowledge that just a regular home school wouldn't be able to give you.
Sophia, heading into the trades, it sounds like. Kendra, do you have anything to add to that?
She's coming back next semester, and she's going to be a double electrical student, and really wanting to pursue her electrical engineering. That program has another community partnership with SaskTel. They'll come in and they'll teach our students how to wire internet and cable, and really help support our program. Hire summer students. So yeah, no, she's. I see her around the building all the time, and she just loves being in there, using her hands and troubleshooting in the electrical lab.
Okay, well, let's hear from some students who are currently taking automotives.
My name is Liam Glenister, and I'm a grade 11 student at Campus Regina Public taking classes in the auto program. The thing I like most about it is just how close it is to a real shop, and it really gives you the work experience you need to get into the automotive trade.
My name is Nick, and I'm a grade 12 student at Campus Regina Public taking classes in the auto program. And the thing I like most about it is just being able to come in and just work on cars, and also the English program is related to cars, so that's pretty good as well.
The English program is related to cars, so that's everything you've been saying, Kendra. It's not Macbeth. It's related to something that they're interested in. Do you often get students who did maybe struggle in a regular program and were looking for something that would, I don't know, kind of spice things up for them?
Yeah, for sure. We get a wide variety of students, both that come through the trades and through our academic programs. But yeah, they're looking for something different than their traditional school model. And we get a lot of students that can't wait till grade 11 so that they can come to our school. We have a law enforcement criminology class where students are partnered with Regina Police Services, and they're learning about careers in law enforcement. We've got one of our newest programs is forensic science, and so students are looking at criminology, psychology, law, but maybe doing, fingerprint analysis. And so it's that engagement piece where you go to schools and you talk to these programs about students, and their eyes get so wide and they start chattering to each other. And so that's what makes it really exciting to be part of a school like this.
I was looking at the list of courses that you potentially offer, and two caught my eye, but I don't think you're offering them right now because I guess students weren't interested. But I would sign up. You could have offered courses to be a content creator.
Yeah, we had we combined some, communication media classes in English, and we thought maybe we could reel some students in and do some content creation with them and some projects. But yeah, our school is based on registrations, and so if we just don't get enough student interest, then programs don't run. And so it really does just depend on student interest and what is available at their home schools as well.
But even the fact that you tried to offer it, you must be looking at what the landscape is right now. And we've got a lot of people who are making money as content creators. So that you were thinking about that. For sure. We are always trying to think of new programs that we could offer at CRP. Where's the gap? Where do we see industry going? Where do we see our community going? And so one of our newest programs it came from just that. So it's called Maskaso and Askik, which is Cree for finding oneself on the land. And so we have students that are coming to us, and they come all day, taking a variety of classes: Cree, Native Studies, Environmental Science, Wildlife Management, phys ed, and they are using the land as the teacher. And so really pushing that traditional school model even further and going outside and speaking with elders and knowledge keepers and wise ones, canoeing, snowshoeing, experiences on the land at Beaver Creek, at Echo Valley, hides, scraping hides and doing traditional beading and Indigenous art forms. And so, really just bringing students in and having them experience school in a very different way. So we're always looking for new opportunities. We're always looking for student voice and what we see students asking for. And so every year our registration form may have something new. And again, it comes down to what students really want. You had Bitcoin on the list. We did. We had Bitcoin a couple times and couldn't get enough students. And I'm curious if they just don't know what it is but yeah, we did try that one a few times. And that might shift again, right? Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of attention being paid to cryptocurrency. Yes, definitely lately, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. We have one more student that we want to hear from, so let's listen.
My name is Skylar Goodhue. I'm in grade 12. I'm currently in the welding program. I took the program because I've always liked welding as it opens doors to building and working hands-on. The program really gives you the experience of welding, and it gives you the practice you need and really sets you on the right path to post-secondary or even the workforce. I think it definitely helps you choose the career path you want to take, as I'm a very hands-on and have experienced both welding and auto classes, as I was very interested in both, and after taking both classes, it made me realize that welding is for me and is the career path I want to pursue.
It's really nice hearing from these students. And then we actually have another person on the line who's a teacher as well at the campus. Let's say hello to Karen in Regina. Hi, Karen.
Hi there.
What would you like to add to the conversation? I want to know what you teach at Campus Regina.
Oh, I'm actually on a year off, but I know Kendra just mentioned not too long about the land-based program. And I've had the privilege of working with our school division in different areas, such as outdoor education and climate change education in a variety of different areas. But I just wanted to say how much I love the conversation and how it kind of went back and forth from, who is writing curriculum and who's responsible for that, to climate change education. And I just wanted to, bring it back to that kind of near the end is, whose responsibility is it to write these curriculums? And as a teacher, I do think that the best curriculums are written by teachers and by educators in consultation with a variety of organizations and community-based organizations, Indigenous communities, policymakers, people doing research in, the area of the future of our society. And so I think we just need to keep that in mind when we're talking about unique programming, because what seems to be the success of the programs that we heard today is that they were really driven by teachers and driven by the needs of the students and not necessarily driven by an industry that may no longer exist in the future, but take into consideration, our whole community.
And Karen, do you feel confident that that is what's happening in divisions across the province? Yes, we did start by talking about the oil and gas program, but how confident do you feel that it is teachers in that kind of very collaborative approach with all those different partners you mentioned? Is that how curriculum is happening right across the board, do you think?
Oh, 100%. I think the curriculums that we have that are being taught are just being animated in a way by really professional, highly educated people in those fields that are passionate about what they're teaching. And I feel a sense of just concern when we let our curriculums being written by different industry partners that might be directing it in one way or another, because I think teachers are experts at taking an outcome and looking at a variety of areas and letting students come to know, what educates them in that area.
We'll have to leave it there. I'm so glad you called, though, Karen. Thanks for adding that.
Thanks.
That's Karen joining us today in Regina. Our guest on the show today has been Kendra Beliveau, the Vice Principal of Campus Regina Public and Victoria Campus. Kendra, I'd like to thank you for being with us today. That was a really informative show. It makes me want to go back to school.
Well, thank you for having me. And, just based on the two teachers that phoned in, I can speak for all the teachers in our building. It's such an amazing place to work and learn. And so we're so grateful that we had the opportunity to explain a little bit about who we are.
Thanks, Kendra. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
That is Kendra Beliveau. I'm Alicia Grabinski. You've been listening to Blue Sky. Coming up on our next show, we're asking this question. What makes a healthy community? We are talking to Saskatchewan people who are thinking about this all the time, whether the focus is on physical health and movement, mental wellness, or planning communities with all ages and abilities in mind. We want to hear from you. What makes your community healthy? You can join the conversation between 12 and 1 right here on CBC Radio 1. Have a good afternoon.